Hello and welcome into today's edition of the Arizona State Sun Devils Insider Podcast. My name is Kevin and I'm the lead beat writer for Arizona State Sun Devils on SI. I am so fortunate, so grateful to join you today as I have every day for roughly the last month. And it is so exciting. We are now under 3 months away from the 2025 Arizona State Sun Devils football team kicking off the season. And before we go into that more, once again, if you get a chance to, please follow me on Twitter/X at khicks_21. Practices will start back up very soon. I will be there every single day getting practice footage, press conference footage, and everything in between and posting it on social media. So please give me a follow if you get a chance. I couldn't do it without each and every one of you. Thank you so much for the support. And let's get back into it. Under 90 days until the start of the season now. Kickoff is August 30th against Northern Arizona, which NAU has become a respectable FCS program over the last couple of seasons. They made the FCS playoffs last season. They nearly defeated the University of Arizona, who came into the season ranked in the top 25 going into 2024. It was a 22-10 loss, but they played Arizona very, very tough. This time around, it probably won't shake out that way, but who knows? You have to play the game. Um, yeah, so what I really wanted to talk about today was what is the toughest stretch of the Arizona State season? Because last season there were a lot of stretches that featured hard-fought victories for Arizona State, but there wasn't really a linear stretch of games that were considered gauntlets, if that makes any sense. It wasn't like you were playing top 25 caliber teams continuously throughout the season. If you were to pinpoint one stretch that was possibly the most difficult, I suppose you could look at the November 9th game against UCF, November 16th against Kansas State on the road, and November 23rd against BYU last season. The UCF game, they weren't very good in 2024, and we know Gus Malzahn ended up exiting the role to move to an offensive coordinator position. Um, but no Cam Skattebo. Sam Levitt was still playing less than 100%. That game was a struggle to win. And then going to Kansas State and playing in one of the toughest environments in the Big 12 conference was obviously very tough. They handled it very well, but that still wasn't necessarily the easiest to get through. And the BYU game, they coasted for most of that game, and that was for a spot in the Big 12 title game, essentially. BYU nearly came back and won that game, as we all know, but Arizona State prevailed, and the hard-fought victory led to a college football playoff appearance. So let's go to this season. Let's look at the toughest stretch in this season. This year's schedule actually generally shapes out pretty favorably for the Sun Devils. There's a few tough road games here and there. Um, the Big 12 should be stronger as a whole this season compared to 2024. But overall, the Sun Devils are still well positioned to reach double digit victories in 2025. That doesn't mean they won't face challenges, though. As I said, the Big 12 is probably going to be stronger this year than it was last year. From top to bottom, even the teams at the bottom, they likely aren't going to be as weak as they were last season. So we'll see possibly more parity. Um, Overall, though, the toughest stretch of the Sun Devil season is very, very clear to me. If you look at it, September 20th against Baylor, Big 12 opener in Waco, and then you play TCU, another high-powered offense at home the Friday after, so you have a quicker turnaround. And it's going to be a 6 o'clock kickoff, so it's going to be very, very hot. It's going to be challenging for both teams. And then you have a bye, so that's good because those two games are going to be very tough. And then you play Utah on the road on October 11th. Let's talk about that one in a minute. And then Texas Tech, October 18th at home. All right, yeah. I think that is the clear toughest stretch of the season. All four of those teams could sneak into the top 25 at various points during the season or could be in the preseason. We'll see how it goes. As I said with Baylor, high-powered offense. It's a road game in Texas. Will probably be a pretty steamy game in terms of weather. Sawyer Robertson is a conventional size quarterback with a rocket arm. We've talked about him a lot on here. He's fearless in pushing the ball downfield. He's very, very consistent and stout in finding his progressions. He doesn't make a ton of mistakes. Um, he's athletic enough to move through the pocket. Not necessarily a dual threat, but he can move quite a bit better than somebody like Garrett Nussmeier. So that'll be a challenge in and of itself. Then TCU get Josh Hoover, who's probably in that same tier of quarterback as Sawyer Robertson is. He's not as physically gifted as Robertson is, but he does have a huge arm. He's fearless. He's a playmaker, and that should be challenging for the Sun Devils as well. The TCU defense does have significant question marks surrounding it, but still, they are a top 25 caliber team in my mind. Sonny Dykes has done a great job of rebounding from a rough 2023 season where they went 5-7, and that won't be a walk in the park for the Sun Devils. And then Utah, that's one of the two games I projected the Sun Devils to lose during the regular season in my Arizona State on SI game by game schedule prediction piece that came out about 3 weeks ago. Yeah, that's just a tough game on paper. The Sun Devils do not fare very well when they play in Salt Lake City at Rice-Eccles Stadium typically. That's a very, very strong home field advantage that they have up there for the Utah Utes. The weather could start becoming a factor by that point. If I remember right, Sun Devils lost 55-3 in a historic defeat in 2023. 2021, they fell 35-21. They took a 21-7 lead at halftime, then absolutely unraveled in the second half. 2019, that was supposed to be a huge game because Jaden Daniels had led the Sun Devils to, I believe they were ranked number 16 at that time. They went to Salt Lake City and basically got blanked. I believe it was a 22-3 defeat. 2017, I believe that was a loss too. I think that the last time they actually won in Salt Lake City was 2013, if I'm not mistaken. Hopefully, I'm correct there. But they don't fare very well up there. It just hasn't historically been favorable for them. Kyle Whittingham consistently comes out with top of the line defenses in the conferences that he's in. Devin Dampier probably is going to shore up a lot of the quarterback issues that they had over the last two seasons. The Utah offense, even if it's average, the defense is good enough to carry it to a pretty successful season. So we'll see what happens there. That is going to be a challenging game. I would be very, very shocked if the Sun Devils won that game handily. It's probably going to look a lot like the game did last year in Tempe. And then lastly, Texas Tech. That might be ASU's best match all season. On paper, they are likely the two most talented teams in the conference. Joey McGuire, the head coach of Texas Tech, has done a phenomenal job of team building, program building. He brought in the number 2 ranked transfer portal class, returning Baron Morton, bringing in a very potent running back room despite losing star running back Taj Brooks, a very, very solid wide receiver room. That team is going to be pretty good. They will be tested before Arizona State. So they could go into the game with a couple losses, but overall things are shaping out for that to be an absolute monumental battle. Could even be host of College Game Day depending on how the early season part of the season goes for both teams. But yeah, that is the toughest part of the season for Arizona State. I don't really see a world in which any other stretch comes close to that, because even the Iowa State one early November, directly after that you have West Virginia, you have Arizona. Colorado is probably going to be a hit or miss team this year. In the September to October stretch, you have 4 teams that are definitely top 25 caliber. They're well coached. They all have potential to be potent offensive teams. And we'll see what Dillingham squad does in 2025. Arizona State still should be the favorites in the Big 12. regardless of the difficulty of their path to another Big 12 title. And less than 90 days until we get to see that product on field. I am so excited to be there for everything this season. Once again, thank you so much for tuning in today and listening to me ramble for 10 minutes. My name is Kevin Hicks, and once again, follow me on X at KHicks_21. Thank you so much for coming in today and listening. I'll see you tomorrow.